Hey guys, RanquestLP here, bringing you episode 0 of my new Let's Play for Civilization V Brave New World. Civilization V is a turn-based strategy game where you start off with one city as a civilization, building yourself to be a humongous world power, and you can go through a variety of different victories, whether it be diplomacy, where you can do conquest, where you kill everybody. You can win cultural victories, and as well as a space victory, which requires techs and all that kind of stuff. So Civilization is actually probably one of my favorite franchises. Next to Minecraft and some of the more legacy Nintendo franchises. But I definitely have a lot of fun with this game. You can, every time you play the game, if you start a new map, you pretty much get a different game experience. Even if you were to choose the same civ, and you choose the same AI players and the same difficulty, you always get a new experience going forward, just by different random events and the map that you choose, and so there's essentially an unlimited variety of ways to play the game, which is great. So I'm going to start a new single player, and we're going to set up the game. So I'm going to choose Korea for my starting civ, and what that does is it allows me for every specialist that I have in a city, you get +2 science, which is definitely very very powerful, especially if you're going for a science wonder, which I was going to be hinting towards. And as Korea, you get the turtle ship, which is an upgrade to the trireme, and then you also get the hwacha, which is the upgraded middle-aged ranged unit. So I'm going to choose, and a lot of this I've actually set up off camera, but I'm going to be using the Pangea Plus for the map type, which you get that in the advanced setup, which will go in here, and you get a lot more map variations in this advanced setup, so I like going through here. And we're going to use a large map, Pangea Plus, and so if you actually look, there's a bunch of different options that we can do. You can even choose to use Earth, which you start in essentially the same location. But the reason why I'm going to choose the Pangea Plus, especially for the videos, is if you use something like continents or Earth, depending on who spawns, especially if you use random civilizations, they can get sent off into their own continent, which makes it so that they pretty much get an easy ride through the whole game. And a lot of times you don't actually see them or get to interact with them until mid to late endgame, when you can travel across the deep ocean tiles. So the Pangea Plus, or even just regular Pangea, will allow us to be able to interact with all the civs once we discover them. So we'll choose that. 4 billion years, the world age. I'm going to want to do temperate's probably okay, but I think I want to use cool for the temperature, so that'll take away some of the deserts, and we'll do a little bit wet, change it up a bit. And then also for the resources, I'm going to do the strategic balance, and what that'll do is that will give us, give everybody the starting area a relative amount of resources, because I know that I've had certain games where I ended up with no iron going through the whole game, and that kind of cripples you depending on what part of the game you're at. So with the strategic balance, it'll give everybody some of those resources within a decent start of their starting turn. So we're going to do quick combat and quick movement, and that will just make the Let's Play move that much faster. We're going to do random personalities, and yeah, so I think that's pretty good. All the victory types. Alright, so let's start. So, and actually, I love these title screens just because they give you a little bit of background on the civ and the leader, and they'll allow you to read what all your bonuses are. But if anybody wants to read these, they can pause the video here and read through all this part. So as soon as we get the journey start, we are going to begin. Okay, so wow. All right, so here's our start. And we've started in a forest, which is not a bad start. We've got a river here, and we're on the ocean. And if you look, we are jewel heavy, as well as we've got some silver. So we've got a lot of luxury resources. We've got the deer here, which is definitely very nice. So we'll get a lot of things going. We've got a lot of money. We'll have a lot of money. We'll have some good production. So yeah, I like this start. This is definitely very nice. So we're gonna build our first city. And once you found your city, you get this small radius, and you see this border. The border is based off your culture. So right now, we currently only have one culture per turn. That's because we have a palace in our city. And then looking forward, we've got all these different tiles with their yields around my city. And as you go on, your culture grows, you'll actually have your border pop out in different directions. So if you're looking at this little purple ring around this tile, essentially that's where, you know, due to normal expansion, that's where your city is going to go out towards. And you can actually choose to buy a tile. So if I wanted to go forward, I could, you know, click on a tile, say I wanted to, you know, get all the gems. But the only issue with that is that your costs do go up every single time you purchase within a single city. So you want to do that sparingly, and a lot of times you'll do that more strategically than not. So so we're going to choose production. We can build a monument for more culture, or we can build a worker, which we're not going to want to do because we don't really have any text for it to do anything. A warrior or a scout. Now I'm going to choose a scout, and the reason being is they have less strength than a warrior, but they're allowed to go through terrain without any penalties. So as a warrior or any other unit, if you're going through things like woods, or if you're going through hills, you'll actually only be able to you'll have double movement costs, but with a scout they'll be able to travel through that with no problem. So so yeah, we'll build a scout for that, and we'll look at our tech tree. And so what we're going to want to do, considering we have so many hills, I'm going to want to get mining as my first. So when we build our workers, we'll be able to utilize all of those gems and the silver. And then I'm going to want to beeline straight to writing after that. And that will unlock the library, as well as it'll unlock the Great Library for a Wonder. And that's really where we're going to want that as for the science victory, because that will give us +3 science, it'll give us a free technology, and it will give us a library already built in. So we're going to want a beeline for that. And then also going forward with cultures, you're allowed to put 2 great works of writing inside, and we'll get into that a little bit later once we get some buildings that have some cultural modifiers like that. So we've made our move, we've got our science plan going forward, production's good. We'll move on to the next turn. Okay, so our first move is going to be really an indicator of what we're going to see. So we've got some marble down here. Looks like a lot of ocean. And another thing with your border, as far as workable tiles with a city, you can work up to 3 tiles away. So 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So this marble is not going to be workable by our city, but as long as our borders touch this area, even if it's not workable, we can hook it up within our trade network, and we're going to want to do that going forward. So I don't know how much is this way, but so we may choose to put a city down here, but we want to make sure that we're staggered with our cities so that they can have the maximum amount of resources or tile usage as possible. So it looks like this portion ends. Got some deer, a forested island. Okay, and then if we look real close, yep, this is where the land ends, which is kind of perfect. That makes this city a lot more defensible because we do not have to worry about any civs coming from this direction. So, you know, all of our military units will essentially only have to go in this direction. At least to begin with. Until people start getting navies and whatnot, we're not going to have anything to worry about. So, it'll also make our exploration a lot easier because we only have to go in, you know, these directions. So we've got one more turn for our scout. Let's move him this way. And we got some bananas, we got some more hills. And let's move our production. I want to go for a monument so we can get our culture going. We're going to need the culture so that we can start getting some social policies, and we'll get into that a little bit later once we get our first social policy, which is in a couple of turns. Well, considering we have +1, it'll be in another 17 turns to be exact. So move this way. And so this is actually good, considering this is desert over here. Our warrior will be able to move to unhindered, but on this side we've got a lot of jungle and whatnot, so our scout will be able to still move to on this side. So we definitely chose the right way to go. Ooh, and we've got a goody hut. That's nice. So and we've met
Pachacuti,
the pious of the Incas. So I'm not 100% sure if this is kind of an indicator of, you know, what the city or what this civ is trying to go for, but if it is, so we've got Pachacuti of the Incas, and he's pious, so he may actually be going for a religious victory. So, and this is, you know, a beautiful scenery in the background. This is actually some scenery from what looks like Machu Picchu, which the Incas built essentially a city up in the mountaintops. So, and we've got a goody hut that way. We may not be able to get to that. And they actually have a spearman. So they've already hit a goody hut with a warrior, and they got advanced weaponry that bumped them up to a spearman. And they got it. That's too bad. But we can still get this one over here with our scout, so that's nice. Let's move this way. Ooh, and so we got a map, which is kind of the worst, one of the worst goody huts you can kind of get, in my opinion. But it did unlock another one, so we'll be able to beeline that way and hopefully get something good on that side. Hopefully nobody is in this general area to snag it from us.
The meat.
Alright, so we've unlocked mining, and we have found the Incas area. Cool. So yeah, so we've unlocked mining, and you know, with our tech tree, we've started on pottery, and you know, because I shift clicked it and, you know, clicked on multiple ones, we have this queue going, which is definitely a nice feature. So, you know, in theory I could go all the way up and automate everything to, yep, I just want to get future tech, so fill it in, and it'll give you this, you know, what it thinks as the most efficient way of getting there, but it will go based off of, you know, what we've had. So if we wanted to prioritize certain techs, we can kind of mix and match our way up through that way. And so, but we're not going to do that, obviously. That's kind of silly. So we're going to stay with just our way to writing, and then we'll go from there. So I think we may, depending on our area, it looks like we're gonna want to go for trapping, and that will give us the ability to work or to improve this deer. Good. So, ruins explored, and our unit equipped itself with advanced weapons. So because this is a scout instead of a warrior, this is nice. The scout has turned into an archer, which gives it a lot more offense, and it gives it the ability to be a ranged unit. And we technically can't build archers yet. We need to unlock archery, which is one of the basic techs, and we'll get that eventually. But the nice thing about that is this scout still retains its ignoring terrain cost, which is nice, and it can defend itself against things like that. So we're up in a hill, so we're a little defensible, and with a ranged, it's a little bit tricky depending on the terrain. So with jungle, you need to be up in a hill to be able to get 2 spaces away. But if this was all grassland or flat terrain, we could pull back and then be able to shoot this encampment from there. But considering we won't be able to hit them unless we are right on top of them anyways, we'll just stay here anyway. So, and another thing with barbarians is all units attack is partially based on their health, and with barbarians they don't ever regenerate health. So it's advantageous to, if you can take a preemptive strike, especially with a ranged unit, to hit them, and we're actually a little bit in dangerous territory here, to hit them, and that will minimize your damage going forward. So let's see, what do we want to do? So we do have good defensive modifiers here. The question is do we want to attack this guy? Now I think that he will not come out of there, especially he won't want to leave his encampment undefended, so I'm going to hit this guy and minimize the damage from there, and we'll see. And worst comes to worst, again, it was a scout, so we can run away really quickly, and then possibly get some healing ticks in between. Alright, so they actually did not attack me, which is really nice. I'm going to hit him again, and our monument is good to go, which is really nice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on a worker, because we have mining, and we are going to want to start working on utilizing these various resources. And what's nice is because we have 3 diamonds right here, we'll be able to get the bonus happiness from one of the diamonds, and we'll be able to trade the other diamonds away. So we're going to start working on a worker, and by then hopefully, so we got 4 turns for pottery, and we can modify things. We can actually set up a queue, so if we want to pull out a shrine, or if we want to build a granary within our city before we get the worker, then we can do that. But by the time we get this worker rolling, we should be good on possibly going straight for a great library. So I think this is, and yeah, so we've got 14 turns. It's going to take 4 turns for pottery to finish out, plus 14 turns for writing. So I think we'll be right there. And they didn't attack me again. Wow. So I'm just going to keep pelting these guys, and I'm getting experience from that, so we'll be able to get promotions, which is really nice. Ooh, and another goody hut, so that's even better. Alright, so we'll take this guy out, and that will actually get us promoted on the next turn. That'll apply. Ancient ruins. Hopefully nobody gets to that before we can. We are crossing a river, which is a little lousy, but... And there's another barbarian encampment. Joy. Yeah, that's the hard part with starting off. You know, in the early game, you're going to get a lot of barbarians, because barbarians will spawn in anything that's fogged of war, or just, you know, darken. So, a good way to make sure that... Oops, excuse me. Sorry about that. That was the missus calling. So, where were we? Alright, so we've got our unit promoted up on the hill here, and we're going to give them Barrage 1. So that's going to give us plus 15 ranged combat strength against rough terrain. So rough terrain is anything that's a hill or a jungle or a forest, and you know, it's always advantageous, especially, you know, if you don't really know which way to go, to do that, just because you get bonus modifiers. You and I guess other units will get bonus modifiers in terrain, so you can minimize that as kind of like a default. You know, you can use the shock, and it all depends really on your starting area. So, you know, being that we're in, you know, hilly and marsh area, we're going to want to use the barrage here. So, barrage him up, and now when we go attack, we'll do a little bit more damage. You can notice the rough terrain bonus right there on our side. And again, they have, you see the plus 15% bonus, granted it's not enough to outdo the regular terrain modifier because they are in a jungle hill, but it does give us a little bit more. So, and we also did pop our first culture, first social policy, so we'll open up the screen, and the social policy has been a little bit changed since the first two, well, the original Civ 5 and the first expansion. So the first 4 are the same, patronage is similar, they added aesthetics and exploration. And what they did is the ones that were actually here, your autocracy, your freedom, and I don't remember what and order, those were social policies. They actually turned them into ideologies, and that actually comes into play a little bit later, so they changed that up. But so we have two options here. We can go, because honor I personally don't really go for. It's not, you know, unless you're going for a straight military city, even then it's not necessarily ideal in the long run. Maybe as a filler going forward. But so what I generally tend to do is I choose between tradition and liberty. And with the new Brave New World, this also has other implications, because depending on which social branch you unlock, it'll actually unlock different world wonders. So for the tradition, which is for smaller empires, you'll unlock the Hanging Gardens world wonder, versus the Liberty Tree will unlock the pyramids. And so if you go honor code, this gives us the statue of Zeus. Piety is the Mosque of Dejene. But yeah, so Liberty is for somebody that wants to be a large empire. And being that we want to possibly win a scientific game, we're going to want to do this just because we're going to want more cities to be able to produce more science. So, so we're going to grab this, and what it'll do is it'll give us free workers and a free settler, which is really nice. So we don't have to worry about losing any production to settlers, or growth for that matter. So we're going to grab that. And that will give us, that's also going to give us +1 culture in all of our cities, which is really nice. So, alright, so let's switch to the next turn. Pantheon is founded.
Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it?
And we have discovered pottery. So what pottery unlocks is it unlocks the building granary, which gives us +2 food. It does do 1 maintenance, which most buildings eventually do. And it also boosts our food on deer, wheat, bananas, and it essentially allows us to grow. Now also going forward for trade routes, if you have a granary in a city, it allows you to send food towards other cities. Now you don't lose any food production within your city, it's just a consequence of the trade route, which is really nice. You can really grow cities quickly by doing that. So we'll definitely take advantage of that going forward. But so yeah, we can choose to build a granary, or we can do a shrine. So if we wanted to do more of a faith-based religion game, then we would go with the shrine, and that would give us +1 faith per turn to start off with. And ooh, very nice. So we gained 95 gold. That's very good. We're gonna keep just ticking at this barbarian. Next turn. So if we look at the score here, granted we are in last place, but it's not really an indicator of our situation, just because we're just starting out. So we've got a really good city start. We've got a lot of good luxury resources that we'll be able to trade away, and we have a very defensible area where we only have to worry about going to the north section. We're going to take a couple more turns, and I am going to cut the video fairly shortly. And we've met Gandhi from India. Cool. And bam. So we've killed him. That means the next turn we should be able to... We might be able to destroy that. Yep. So we cleared the encampment, which gave us 25 gold. Very nice. Unit needs orders. Let's go this way. So we actually have some land coming this way, which is really nice. Now, with all this exploring, the one thing that you're going to do is try to scope out, your next plot for a city, and we haven't really found an ideal situation. It's actually looking like we may want to go this direction. I may want to bring my scout back this way. We've got some decent resources. It looks like the river is always nice to go on. We've got some bananas, probably some spices that we're going to want to go to, but we want to be careful because we don't want to get too close to Pakachuri, because they always get cranky when you settle close to them. So we may go somewhere in this direction, but a lot of this ends up being flat land, so so who knows. So maybe if we stroll around this way, we'll head out and maybe grab this. Maybe we'll just grab this block right here, which is a jungle hill, and by forming your city, we'll clear the jungle and we'll get production from that hill city, which will be nice. Plus we'll get the 1-2 for the bananas, 1-2 1-2 for this, 1-2-3 for the gold. So this actually may be our best choice for our next city. Plus it's relatively close by. It's not terribly far away, so a road is is not out of the question there. So let's go this way, might as well. Some bananas, some more fish in this area. So who knows, we may actually try to own this piece of sea. Let's see what else is on this side. 6 more turns for writing. And we are not last place for the busiest people, and that's based off of how many hammers you have. Somebody's definitely, forging ahead with 9 hammers. And let's see, what do we got? Got another social policy. Now, we can choose to do 2 different things. I'm thinking that I actually want to let's see what we got. So we are currently working on a worker, and so let's see, what I'm going to want to do is for our next policy, because considering we're already going to have a worker coming up, I'm going to want to go with the Republic, and that's going to give us +1 production in all our cities, which will make building our great library all the much faster. And once our worker pops up, which should be about the time we learn writing, a little bit before, we can start building our mines in this area and get our production really rolling. Ooh, and a natural wonder. So we actually may want to go this way. What did we discover? Old Faithful, and that gives us +2 science if it's work, as well as +3 happiness if it's within our border. So if we put a city out in this way, we'll get that. That'll actually be, that's actually an option for something we may want to do. So and we have met Pakal, the pious of the Maya. Well met, stranger. So, hello, hello. And there's another barbarian. We again are on a jungle hill, so we're gonna whack him before he can whack us. Look at that guy. I mean, the nice thing about Civ 5, I mean, they did such a great job on, you know, the graphics, the terrain, and the animations. I mean, that's just beautiful. So, and another thing that I like too is, you know, when you look in your city, you can see it's growing, but every time you build a wonder, it actually puts it on the map. So in other Civ games, you could open up your city and see what your city looked like on the inside, but this one they introduced actually building the wonders on the regular map. So you get a really cool look when you start getting large cities with a lot of cool buildings. So no, you can't walk on there. One, and we're gonna chase you down. Another pantheon is founded, and you know, that doesn't really worry me. If I was playing a religion game, then I may be a little bit worried, but I think I'm okay. So we've got our first worker. Now the question is where do we want to go? So let's look at our city. We've got a level 3 city. So if we go to citizen management up here, we can see that we are working the deer, we're working the silver, which is giving us food and money, and these diamonds, which is also giving us food and money. So I think based off of the fact that this has 3 coins, we're going to want to come over here and start working on a mine. And our production, I'm going to want to, considering our great libraries coming up, I think I'm going to start working on the shrine, put a couple turns into that, and then open up the queue, and then instantly start going for the great library.
He who destroys a good book kills reason itself.
So get a boost to our science. And I thought we had the tech for mining. Actually, it looks like we can't put a mine there because there's no forest. Because there's a forest there. So we're going to have to move one more. Okay, let's open the tech tree real quick. And we are going to want to get archery for defense and then go straight to trapping. Yeah. Thwack this guy one more time. Get up in the hill, get some extra range, start building a mine. It's going to take 6 turns. Alright, so that's another thing. Let's get, before we forget, go on here, change our back. Let's show the queue. Now the difference between hitting this button, this is really important, is with showing the queue, it allows you to add buildings to the queue, versus if you don't have that checked off, you can change the production and essentially lose your production altogether. So we are currently, it's going to take us 31 turns. If we go production based, it's now only going to take us 24. So we're going to want to do that. This is really an important screen and tool to utilize. You can really customize your cities and tailor them to do what you want them to do. So we are going to build a great library. Let's go back, and then also once you do that too, you want to make sure that you can toggle different buildings in different orders. So we're going to start rushing, hopefully, to get the great library. Completely kill that guy. We discovered some ruins that we probably will not get, but maybe we can. So this is an interesting situation. I'm going to want to flank around to this side, hopefully get the Incan spearmen to wear this guy down, and then once he's low enough, we steal the ruins away from him. So hopefully this barbarian can last at least at least one more turn, or one or two more turns, I should say. Live in the hill, and we've got another bear encampment. So
मेरे दोस्त, क्या इस इंतजाम में आपकी दिलचस्पी है?
Alright, so I can choose this trade from Gandhi, and we can either both get embassies, or I don't really want his embassy, because I'm not looking for any sort of military advantage of learning where his city is. I think I actually know where he is. So the UI automatically sets a value for a lot of these buildings. So I believe it's 25 gold, but we can actually round up. So if we do 1 gold per turn, propose that, and he'll take that. So he knows where our capital is, which I'm okay with. But we're also getting an additional 30 gold for us giving him an embassy, which is nice. Alright, so ouch. So we are in tough shape here. I'm going to pull back this way, and then hopefully I'm going to be able to heal. It did not turn out the way I wanted it to. We found the Huns. Let's go to unit promotion, another one. Let's get barrage 2. That'll give us an even more bonus. And now if we go to attack this guy, we've got 30% bonus, so we get an additional, so essentially overall we're going to get a 5% bonus based off of terrain, which is really nice, plus our bonus versus barbarians. So that's definitely a nice promotion to have. So we're going to heal up that guy, go to the next turn. And we're going to essentially play this just like we did with the other group. So whittle these guys down to the point where we can knock them both out.
After the
archery. He doesn't have any bonuses, so we nail him. Kill him outright. We've got another Pantheon started. Our mine has started. Now look at that. We've got 3 hammers instead of the 2. As well as we've got the 3 gold already being produced. Now also on top of that, if we look at our happiness, we have +4 happiness from having gems as a strategic resource. So that is fantastic. Now, I'm gonna want to pull this guy this way, and we can build the mine here. We'll get another strategic resource. We do have to be careful because we are not growing currently, because we are in that production focus. We've got 3 citizens eating 6 food, and a lot of that comes again from the fact that we've taken this this default production base. So eventually, once we start getting farms and, you know, hopefully we have the great library in our control, we'll go back to a default focus and we'll be able to grow fine, just fine. Take a drill, and we are surrounded by barbarians. This is not looking very good. So we're gonna, let's see, minor victory. We go back onto, take that guy out. We go on to still in a jungle, so we'd have good defensive position. But I think we're just going to stay here. We're going to take another heal, just because I don't want to lose that warrior. We're going to go down to 1 unit. But I think he can defend from there. So I think he'll be all right. Throw an attack on him, and then next turn we can knock out that encampment. You know, I'm a little surprised that we haven't found any city-states. I know we're technically in a large map, but usually there's a couple that pop up by now. Especially considering we found 2 civ locations. Clear the barbarian encampment. Very nice. Move in this way. We've got some mountain ranges that kind of force us to go this way. He's actually negative gold per turn, so I'll accept that. That's fine. So, wow, he's gone a long way. Alright, so he's going 7. So we're going to do the same thing with the gold. Boost him down to 1. And again, once we get back, so he's got horses, which we don't really need at the moment. And once we start getting other luxury resources, we're going to start trading those away for more gold. So. And we've actually got another civ there. And we've got collective rule. So this is really nice. It's going to speed the training of our settlers by 50%. And we're going to get a free settler outside of Seoul. So we've got one right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the video right here. So we've got a pretty decent start. We're very safe. So, you know, we've got our barbarian troubles up here, which is a little unfortunate. But I think we're going to be okay there. So we're going to cut it here, and we are going to continue next time on our next episode. So we'll see you then, guys. Bye.